Hey everyone, I hope you all had a Merry Christmas, and since we're getting into the new year 2023, I want to tell you about my #1 New Year's resolution as a Christian. So late last year, I already fulfilled my 2022 resolution to get a cross tattoo to remind myself of who I'm really working for in this life. So now in 2023, my biggest Christian New Year's resolution is to volunteer for the church more. There are a lot of reasons why I like volunteering for the church and helping out, and why it's a good thing for all of you to help out at your church as well. So if you are already going to a church but you're not getting super involved just yet, one reason why I really like to get involved in it, I just like that sense of being helpful, contributing. I like to be able to use my abilities to help others. I don't like to keep them all to myself. So for example, one thing I did through the church is called UMCOR. Well, that is the United Methodist Volunteer Emergency Response Team. What we did recently was help in the debris cleanup after a tornado hit the state of Alabama in late November. It hit pretty close to where I live, like 20 minutes away, so my community was not affected. But there were some communities that were really devastated. I saw houses cut completely in half, houses with the top half completely ripped off, and all kinds of chaos that was there. And that felt really good as an opportunity for me to use my physical capabilities to move debris around. We spent like 10 hours throwing logs around, not straight, we did have breaks. But yeah, the whole day from 7:30 a.m. to 5 p.m. just throwing logs around, climbing on roofs to put tarps on them, and all kinds of stuff like that we did. It felt really good to be able to use my physical abilities to do something that's helpful for others besides just myself. I don't like to make physical fitness just about myself looking good. I like to actually think about the functionality of it and put it into practice. So that felt really good to me. And that particular day that I spent volunteering for the post-tornado cleanup, it was really cool to connect with the other people there, and any other event that we volunteer for, it's very similar. We also volunteered at the Fall Festival. And you get to talk to the other people there, find out why they like to volunteer, and you each use your own personal strengths to help each other, and anything that you cannot do, let's say if something is outside of your abilities but someone else has that ability, then you all use your strengths and weaknesses together. So for example, when volunteering for tornado cleanup, I have never run a chainsaw before. I have no idea how to do that. So there were other people who were good at running chainsaws, so we team up. They saw the logs, and then I pick them up and throw them to the right place. So it shows you that you don't have to be able to do everything and know everything on your own. There's also a lot of complex problem solving involved in things like that. It's not just picking things up and putting them down and throwing them here and there, moving them from point A to point B. There's actually a lot of strategy involved. Like for example, when we were figuring out how exactly to chop, sometimes there were these trees that were hanging right over a house with a branch barely hanging on a thread, looking like one more strong wind and it could break the roof of the house. So we had to strategize really carefully about how to go about sawing that log off in a way that it won't cause the whole tree branch to just collapse right there on the house. So there's a lot more strategy and cognition involved in what you consider physical work, and it's really cool to see people's different ideas come together. So it's that sense of community. I know that church is not the only place that you can do things like that. There are all kinds of secular charities you can volunteer for. So I think anytime you volunteer and put your skills into use and team up with others to solve a problem, that's always great. But just for me personally, in the area that I live, the Methodist Church gives us a lot of additional opportunities for volunteer work. Like around here, a lot of the volunteering is done through various churches. So that's why the church is a big outlet for me to do that, and I want in this next year, 2023, to do even more of that. I really like the disaster relief mission, and I also really liked volunteering for the church events. Like, in comparison to disaster relief, volunteering for things like the Fall Festival, the Christmas lights, and the Easter display. So that's a lot more mellow and low-key. We're not dealing with something as dramatic and emotional as a natural disaster, but still it is that opportunity to have everyone's skills, abilities, and ideas come together. You get to take part in putting together something fun for your community to come together and share in their enjoyment, especially considering that life is hard and the world is a rough place. Sometimes it is just as rewarding to help put together some sort of a fun event for people to let their stress go away, kind of brush their stress off to the side for a second and focus on something really lighthearted and fun and enjoyable. That can be just as helpful as helping for something like disaster relief after a very dramatic incident. And then on top of that, on top of the feeling of accomplishment and togetherness, you can actually get some nice freebies for yourself from volunteering. Like, for example, we have chickens, ducks, and goats. So after volunteering for the Fall Festival, they gave us like 12 bales of hay. I mean, we got all the hay that our goats will need for a year after volunteering, because you know, at fall festivals, they make those things like hay rides, and they have these big bales of hay for decorations, and not too many people actually have a use for them. If we didn't take them, they would just throw them away, so it helps both of us. We get to help our goats have all the hay they want for a year, and we also help prevent a resource from just going to waste. So just like they say, one man's trash is another man's treasure. So volunteer, you get to see how you can take these things that would otherwise just be put to waste and actually put them to use, maybe for yourself or maybe for someone else. You can point out, hey, that might be useful to you. So it puts you in the mindset of resourcefulness. Resourcefulness goes right in hand with gratitude, because with resourcefulness and with gratitude, you pay attention to what you do have instead of what you don't have. It really gets you to appreciate how much truly is right there in front of you, and it helps you see how people actually do care about helping one another. Sometimes, especially after this whole pandemic situation and the recession, the economy, it can feel like everyone for themselves, very isolated. But when volunteering, you get to see how people still do care about helping one another. They think of you. Now someone else can point out, hey, this could be useful for you. I know you have goats, do you want these bales of hay? Do you want these extra pumpkins? You're like, hey, they thought about me. And then in turn, you can think about someone else. Okay, these decorations, those could be useful for you. Would you want to take that with you? So yeah, all of those are great reasons why it is a very good thing to get involved with your church and volunteer for it, and why I resolved to do more of that in 2023. So everyone, have a happy new year. You can let me know in the comments what your New Year's resolutions are. See you next year.